Hey guys, it's Yasha. So basically, what I wanted to do was jump on this beautiful day in Chicago, just kind of hanging out at one of my favorite restaurants, Panera Bread, and just kind of wanted to jump on and do a little website 101. How about that? So basically, I guess what drove me to want to do a video is because I get a lot of questions about websites in my inbox, and what I really wanted to do was really kind of dispel some of the myths that people kind of get when they buy these domain names and some of the confusion. And then I wanted to talk about some of the things that your website definitely has to have in order to for it to be successful. So basically, in my inbox, I get a lot of questions about people buying domain names. That's cool. I have domain names up the yin yang, trust me. And some of them are just that. They're domain names. They don't do anything. It's just something that I own for however long I've leased it. Think about an apartment. A domain name is saying, hey, I want www.restaurant.com and I want it for a year. So you bought that for a year. It's not yours permanently. Every year you have to renew it, just like in an apartment. And that lease is up, you need to renew it again. Most of the time, I think I buy domain names. I think they run about $10.95. I think GoDaddy does them for about $3. I think Google Domain runs them again for like $3, and that's fine and good. You know, if it works, you're just basically you're just kind of buying up names, and sometimes and it works out sometimes. Sometimes somebody may come behind you and want to buy it, and you can get a crap load of money from it. So buying up domains, that's why I said there's nothing wrong with buying domains, but you have to remember that's all you've purchased. You purchased a name. There's no hosting, there's no website with that. So then separately, what you're gonna have to do is find someone to host. If you want a website with that domain name, you're gonna have to find someone to host it. That means someone to manage your files, manage the security of the content that you're putting up. And that's a whole nother beast. Most times where you buy the domain from also offers hosting. So remember, you can't just buy a domain name and expect a website to come with it. Really doesn't work that way unless you're doing it. Even if you do something like a Weebly or something like a Square or something like what's the what's the other one that's always on that has all the people that I can't even think of it right now. But even if you buy those, sometimes you're just buying a domain name. If the hosting comes with it, cool, then you don't have to buy it separately. But most times people think they automatically get a website when they buy the domain name. And I have to explain it over and over and over. That's not the case. So now that we've talked about domain names, let me talk about the content of the domain name. This is another thorn in my side. People tend to get these long URL names and they're like this. Even if your company has a long name, your domain name does not, I repeat, does not have to match that. Imagine you're in this restaurant and you're in a line and you're waiting for your order and there's a person behind you, and suppose you guys strike up a conversation and you tell them about your business. You're like, oh, okay, cool, where can I go find some information? You want to give them the name of your website, but it's this long name that you have to give them. And then what happens is when that person walks away and they get in their car and they hit, and you're like, what was that name again? You don't want that. So make sure it's memorable, something that's catchy, even if it's like the initials. So like for instance, like Panera Bread, maybe say pbrestaurant.com. You want something easy to remember. I've seen URLs where and this is another thing, if you're serious about your business, what you want to do is really be mindful of how you're presenting your image. So if you're serious about your business, you want to be able to papers flying, sorry. So if you are serious about your business, what you really want to do is make sure it's just the name. So I've seen URLs where it says my company, or like for instance, let's go back to the pbrestaurant.myshopify.com. If you're serious about your business, buy the domain name, make sure it's just PB Restaurant. Don't add other, because what's going to happen is what? When you talk to somebody and you tell them, oh yeah, it's this, I'll get it to you, I'll send it to you. What's your name? Let me text and I'll text it to you. Too much work. And no one's going to remember it when that person gets away from you. It's too much work. You want them to tell somebody else about it? That's too much work. So why don't you take the time to invest in your own? I think that was a B. To invest in your name. Ooh, got unnerved there. Anyway, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the other things that you want to take into consideration when you're building your website out. There are a couple of things that you must consider, and you must be very mindful of the things that you're putting on your website, because this is an image that you project. And like I said, I'm sitting outside, so people are going to pass by. So one of the things that you want to consider is having some really good high-res photographs. The amazing things that my iPhone does, and I have an iPhone 8, I don't even have the most recent one. If you really take into consideration taking some really good pictures, those pictures will resonate well on your website, and it makes your website, it even stands out on its own if you take some really good pictures of the merchandise you're selling. And what happens is people look at it and they're like, oh, okay, I can see a really good picture of what that looks like. And they look good. So really invest in taking some really good photographs, or there are stock sites that you can buy nice photographs from that really invest in taking some really nice pictures that you can have for free. You don't have to buy them. So there are some sites out there that if you don't feel comfortable taking pictures, at least put some pictures on your website that are really good quality. And you can do that for free, either with your iPhone or with the stock. Sorry, papers and my purse is flying everywhere. And another thing that you want to, on your website, you want to have a really good about section. You want to tell people what you're about, what you're doing, what's your mission, what's your goal, what's your purpose, who you are. You really want to be mindful of that. You want people to know, you don't want to be this mystery person. People don't trust that. And what you want to build on this site is definitely you want to build trust. Another thing that you need to have on your site is a contact us page. You want them to be able to contact you on the phone, on your website. You want emails, social media. Any way that they can get in contact with you, you want them to be able to do that. You don't want them having to search for you, because that takes too much effort. This day and age we live in the now. We want it right now. Don't want to question. I don't want to have to look for you. I don't want to have to ask about you. You should have that information readily accessible to me at any time. So your contact page is what's going to do that. And so another thing is your brand. For me, brand is important because it's who you are when you're not in the room. So when you're, for instance, I take brand very seriously. So each of my brands has a whole different color. That way they stand out from each other. For instance, my YSM agency, that stands out. That's peach and navy. Whenever you see peach and navy, you know that I'm talking about YSM. It's related to YSM. If I'm talking about, I don't know, my Sterling style business, it's purple and gold. That's how you know it. You don't mix brands because you want them to have their own identity. You want them to be able to be recognized by people. They know that when they see it. So definitely make sure that your website resonates the same way. Make sure your logo, make sure your colors on the site all match your brand. These are going to build relationships with customers, because that's how they're going to come to know you. So it's important to build that brand identity. Also, you want to make sure that your site is responsive. That means that it responds. That means if I'm on a tablet, your website should adjust to based what I'm on. If I'm on a phone, your website should adjust to what I'm on. You want to make sure you don't want people to scroll and have to squeeze in and have to turn around and flip it around to do that. If I take my phone and it's in the upper position, it should work. If I flip it to the side, it should automatically adjust based on that. And we as programmers, we take that very seriously, because we do mounds of testing to make sure before you get that site, it does that. So it's very important that if your site does not do that, people that are on, in these days and age, most people are on a computer like I am right now. They're looking at it on their phone. You want to make sure any type of phone, and there are so many phones out there, my God. So you want to make sure that at least the bulk of phones, the iPhone and like the Samsung, Galaxy, you want to make sure at least those your website looks good on those. You don't want people to have to say, oh my God, it looked great on the computer, but when I got on my tablet, it looked like crap. You don't want people saying that about your site. So make sure that it's responsive. Another thing, if you're selling stuff on your website, regardless of what it is, if you're selling anything where a person has to pull out, a credit card out of their wallet to pay you, you want to make sure that site is secure. And a key way to find out if a site is secure, at the top when you type in the URL, so for instance, one of mine, YSM Agency, it's not a secure site because I don't get any, I don't sell anything on it. But the key thing is you want it to say HTTPS, not HTTP, but HTTPS, and that's how you know that site is secure. And then that's how you know that it's covered. It should be secure. I mean, any transaction you make should be okay on it. But that's one key thing. You want to make sure that that site is secure. Another thing, and Beyonce just got in trouble for this, make sure your site caters to blind people. Make sure your site caters to people who can't hear. Make sure that their devices they'll be able to navigate your site just like anybody else. There are devices out there that will read your website to them, that will, if they're blind, there are things that you should put in place that they should know to, and your programmer should know to put those things in place so these people are accommodated. That's what I said. Beyonce just got in trouble because her website and what it's called is ADA compliant. That means you need to be sure that your website is compliant with American with Disabilities Act. So she got in some trouble, but she had some money like that to just whoop her. I don't have it like that. I don't know, maybe you have it like that too. But just kind of, that's another thing that you should make sure about your website. Another one is to make sure that you put in keywords, sprinkle them out through your site of what you sell. For instance, if you just specialize, I'm looking at a guy pass by with cap on. So if you specialize in caps, make sure caps is everywhere around your site. You want people to be able to search. When they say cap, you want your site to come up at least in the search. You can get very specific. Maybe you only sell baseball caps. Maybe you only sell snapback. Maybe you only sell, what's the other one that these guys are really adamant about. But, you want to make sure that you put those keywords throughout your site. That way people are able to find you. That's extremely important. What's the point of having a site if they can't find you? So it's very important. And then, this is a key thing, and this is a secret I'm going to give you. Make sure that it loads quickly. Make sure that as soon as I type it in, boom, boom, stuff pops up. You don't want to play around with it. People are impatient and they want stuff. And if I got to look for it, or if it takes too long for it to load, I'm off to something else and I've forgotten about your site. You want to make sure, you want to constantly test your site. Make sure that it loads quickly. Very important. And last but not least, this is a trick. This is a trick that every programmer really shouldn't tell you. But if you want your site, say like you see a site every day and you love the way it looks, either on your phone or on your computer, mimic that site. Say, I want my site to look just like MSN.com. I want my first, I'll give you a little testimony. My first site back in, I think it was the first site that I officially built on my own without any help. It was about, I think it was 2008, and I specifically mimicked the site from the home page all the way through to the contact page. I mimicked the whole site, and it looks just, even to this day, I still have it. It looks just like that site because I love the way that site looked. And if you have a gifted programmer, that programmer can mimic it and it'll look just like it. All you do is change out the colors, change out your logo, change out, but as far as like the look and feel, the way the buttons are looking, the way the rows and the columns are kind of aligned, make it look just like that. If you like the way that looks and you think your site will look good like that, it's not illegal. So do it. So this has been some of my tips. I just tend to, I get those questions a lot, and so I thought this would be a good thing to have to just kind of forward to people, and kind of look through and really, take care of your website. I know I tend to, because it's something that I'm really passionate about, I tend to take a lot more effort, but I feel like this is something that's very important if you want to build your brand. Make sure your website adheres to those 10 items and then that bonus item. And I guarantee you'll have a great site and people will come back more and more. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you soon.